And Dr. Mashelkar had invited me for a valedictory address where I lost track of time and I exceeded my time beyond 5:15 to 5:30. It started late. I'm so sorry. Please forgive me for this. It is something which I'm very apologetic about. I never have done that, but sometime it happened. Today was a bad day for me, and I'm very sorry about it. Welcome again. Friends, we have a very important subject to discuss. In fact, I had come for that meeting which connects us to the today's subject. The journey of Honeybee Network that I'm going to talk about essentially is a journey of converting sink into source. Anybody can amplify what is the meaning, what is the implication you derive from this phrase, from sink to source? Anybody can interpret it? What does sink to source mean?
Sir, sink means something is taken from some output, and source is the which is driving the output. And something is say suppose battery is a source and you have LED as a sink.
All right. So what I will take this issue forward and interpret it in terms of how societies are organized and how societies work. So poor people are often treated as sink of advice, assistance, aid, isn't it? We think that they cannot often stand on their feet and we need to help them. So they are receiver, we are provider. They are sink of advice, sink of assistance, sink of our support. But if they were to become the source of ideas, ideas that we cannot conceive, ideas that we cannot imagine, ideas that we do not even are aware of, then it will convert sink into source. So the journey of Honeybee Network, in some sense, is converting people who are treated as sink into source of ideas, source of innovation, source of new changes that were needed in society but were not easy to come about. The formal sector was failing to discover solutions. That was the challenge. Now comes the next challenge. Why honeybee? Any guess why would I call it honeybee? What does honeybee do which we intellectuals don't do? Guess? Network.
Collective efforts.
Take
Yes.
best of every flower.
Correct. And how do you use that metaphor? So just as honeybee collects nectar from the flower, what do intellectuals do?
They accumulate the knowledge from the resource persons and use it for their own good.
And it would be like, so I would say, collective social responsibility.
Yes. So there are 4 principles I would like to share with you. And let me also share with you the logo so that you can see how this, just give me 1 second. Yes. So it is important to realize that what honeybee does, many of the intellectuals like us don't do. And that is the irony of the situation. That is the irony of the situation. To me, it was a personal transformative moment when I realized that as moneylender exploits in the money market, the landlord mute yourself. Mute. I'm muting you. So just as landlord may exploit in the land market, the money lender may exploit in the money market, trader may exploit in the commodity market, intellectuals also exploit in the idea market. Can anybody explain to me how does it happen? Anybody? How can intellectuals exploit? Why do intellectuals exploit? How can they exploit? Anybody? Any suggestion? Hmm? Anybody? There is a disturbance coming. Who is using mic? Please switch off. So can you reflect on it? How can the metaphor of flowers not complaining when they attract the bees be used in our context? What would have gone in my mind to make me feel guilty about my own behavior? What do you think I was doing? It made me feel like this. Mute yourself. Yes, please. Just guess which conduct of an intellectual will make him or her behave like an exploiter. They're all brilliant people.
Presenting an idea and not giving due credits to someone.
Very true, Priyachi, very true. You're absolutely right. That is one. That we take idea from somebody and don't give credit. That is one kind of exploitation. Second, anybody? Or Prachi, you can also suggest another.
So not giving equal opportunities to the rich and the poor to present their ideas.
Okay, second problem is asymmetry in the way we treat the ideas of third party. Well, very true. What else? Anu Verma, if you can't join, it's all right if you can't use your video or audio. If you can listen to what I'm saying, that's fine. Otherwise, we'll share with you the recording. So what is the third? What is the third category of exploitation? Anybody can guess? Prachi has made two very useful points. One, we don't give credit to people whose knowledge we take. Second, that we discriminate between those who are privileged and those who are less privileged in favor of the privileged. That's also exploitation. What else? Rohit, you are right that we can populate the idea market, we can dominate the idea market and suppress the ideas of marginal communities. That is the third point Rohit has implied, that going forward from where Prachi left, the intellectuals can sometimes give a context of less importance, less significance to the ideas of those who are less privileged, saying, oh, this is a trivial idea, this is not important. And this is very important what Olivia says. Olivia has brought the fourth very important point, which applied to me also, Olivia. I will be very honest today before all of you. 40 years ago, 1986, when I came back from Bangladesh, I was paid in dollars. And what Olivia is saying, that when you take knowledge from somebody, first, you don't give credit. Second, you don't even share with them your findings. Prachi, that is also a point of exploitation, isn't it? That we don't share our findings with the people from whom we collect data. And third, we discriminate. And fourth, we don't share the benefits with them. That's what Olivia has mentioned just now. I was doing all of these problems, at least two of these problems. One, I was fair in sharing the benefits, sharing the credit. That I was not guilty of. But I was guilty of asking myself, I looked at my income tax return and I said, why am I famous? Why did I get paid in dollars? Is it because I am brilliant? Or please listen to it carefully. Or is it the people whose knowledge I documented and wrote about are brilliant? So I was in Bangladesh, and I can tell you that I found so much creativity there per square kilometer than more than anywhere else, much more than India. And mind you, at that time, the landlessness was 60% in Bangladesh. Extreme poverty, but extreme creativity among the people who were poor. So I'll give you some examples of that. So the question was, here I am, I've enriched myself, but from my income, no share is going back to the people whose knowledge made it possible. That generated tremendous dissatisfaction in my mind. And a socially minded, socially conscious intellectual, when he or she feels like this about oneself, it is terrible. You can't sleep properly. And I was wondering what to do. I had to get out of this situation. And I argued with myself and I said, look, I work on public policy. I try to publish papers in various languages. I try to give credit to people. I'm spending so much time with the students and village communities, etc., etc. But none of it was satisfactory to my mind, my conscience. And finally, I said, all right, how do I address it? And one day, somehow I came across honeybee and it seemed to cover all the four biases that you have found. It cross-pollinates, something that all of you said about collective social responsibility. It cross-pollinates. It enriches the nature. How can I cross-pollinate? I cannot cross-pollinate in English language. A farmer from Risa cannot learn from farmer in Tamil Nadu if I don't communicate Tamil language story or innovation in Oriya. Correct? If I ask myself, and if you ask yourself, how much of knowledge that you have produced has gone back, particularly the one which is applicable to social change, has gone back to people in local language? There's a gap, isn't it? So that was first lesson, cross-pollination. Second was, flowers don't feel shortchanged when bees come and collect the nectar. In fact, flowers attract the bees by having different colors. Are we sure that when we take knowledge of people, they don't feel shortchanged? They don't feel that we took their knowledge, we became the author. Most of the ethnobotanical literature, ethnozoological literature has been published by people who went to tribal people, collected their knowledge, published papers on that. Thousands of papers have been published. Not one tribal name you will find. Not one paper has gone back in local language to the tribal people or the local people, correct? This is not exploitation, then what is exploitation? Third, that they don't keep all the honey themselves. Some they are willing to spare with us, and then they make another haste. So a reasonable share of knowledge must go back to people whose knowledge made my enterprise, my problem, my research successful or viable. So with these four principles, Honeybee Network started. That whatever we learn from people will be credited not only to the knowledge provider, but also the scout, the person through whom we search the knowledge. I will send you the issues of Honeybee. My colleague will send you the Honeybee newsletter, and you will realize that these newsletters, we acknowledge every person whom we can, who have we identified as a source of knowledge provider. And in many cases, the person through whom we learned is also acknowledged. Because if we didn't know the person who will go to the village and collect the knowledge, then how will we get the knowledge of the people? Second, we have many language versions, Tamil, Hindi, Gujarati, Oriya, and we are trying to bring out in other languages if we get more volunteers. Telugu, that is second. Third, that if we get any honorarium, third is, if we add any value, we develop any value addition in that knowledge, it should go back to people in local language. So every time when we write a thesis, there is a line in the acknowledgement. All acknowledgement due have been made, isn't it? All of you will have a line in your acknowledgement of thesis when you submit it. All acknowledgement due have been made. Your thesis your thesis guide has to certify that. But if supposing you have collected data from patients or from farmers or from artisans or from blacksmiths, supposing you are doing something on foundry or from entrepreneurs, and you have never shared given credit to them, particularly for insight that you have gained from them, then it is not correct that you have acknowledged them. So, third is we will share back the findings, and you have to share back your summary of the thesis in a language that they can understand. And the fourth point is, and that's very important, if I get any per diem, I get any honorarium, I get any consultancy, I get any award, a reasonable share of that must go back to the people whose knowledge made that honorarium, that award, that consultancy, that per diem possible. Now, if we do not do that, then we are no different from other exploiters in the marketplace. How many of you agree with this? Let me see whether I can set up a poll today. Let me try this poll. And let me see, how do I create a poll? Let me just a minute. Will anybody of you create a poll? How do I create a poll?
सर मैं कर सकूंगी, क्या करना है?
One question is, I agree with 4 principles. Second is, I don't agree with 4 principles. Third is, I want to make another principle, add another principle.
Okay.
So please add these 2 questions, 3 questions.
सर थर्ड क्वेश्चन क्या रहेगा?
Third is, I want to add one more point. Then that person will be asked to explain.
Okay.
हो गया?
हाँ सर हो गया.
All right. So launch it and then let us see how do people respond to that. So can you all vote and tell me so that I can see how many of you agree with these 4 principles, how many of you don't agree, and how many of you think there must be an additional feature to be added. Poll is not visible to some people. It's not visible to. So you have to launch the poll. Or wait a minute, we are doing that. Just wait for a minute. Let me see. Have you so have you created the new poll?
Yes sir.
So why it is not visible to others? Let me first remove this end poll. Now you do that, because I had not closed the attendance poll. So now you will be able to launch it. Launch it again. Launch it
Okay,
again.
sir, launch.
Yes, now it is okay. So now, friends, you are able to see the poll, right? Now you will see. Correct. Okay. Good. Wow. So there is one who disagrees. There are 251 who agree. And there's none who wants to add. And none wants to add more point. Can I hear the one who disagrees? Can you please speak up? Thank you. How do I see who it is? The one who has said I disagree, can you please share your disagreement? I would like to hear your views. All of us would like to hear your views. No, there are 3 questions accessible. I agree, I disagree, I want to add more point. And we have got response from 348 students already. And I would like to, there's one student who disagrees with what I said. Would you speak up, please, and share your disagreement? I'm happy that there is at least one. Savita, why did you see only one? There is I agree, I disagree, I want to add more points. There are 3 choices here. So there are 2 students who disagree. Prabhat, Arushi, are you able to see all the 3? Can anybody confirm that you are able to see all the 3?
Yes, sir, visible.
All right.
Yes,
So
sir,
now,
visible.
okay, so now please speak up the ones who disagree. There are 3 of them. Can you please raise your hand or just unmute yourself one by one and tell me? Diksha, there were 3 choices. One question, there were 3 choices. I agree, I disagree, or I want to add one more point. There were 3 options, Nidhi, as rightly saying. So maybe you missed it somehow. But anyway, anybody who does not agree, can you speak up, please? One question, 3 choices. You are right. Anybody wants to share their disagreement, please? I'm not able to hear any voice. Can you unmute yourself and tell us which point you disagree with, or are you disagreement with the whole idea that intellectuals have no responsibility towards the society in larger sense of the term as we have defined it, and that's all right if they work for their own peers or their own journals or whatever, and it doesn't matter if they take knowledge and don't acknowledge it. It doesn't matter if they don't share their finding with the people. It doesn't matter if they don't share any benefit that they get from that work with the communities. So let's say we work on a drug and we develop a drug which is based on traditional knowledge, but we don't acknowledge anybody. We don't give any benefit to the community whose knowledge we drew upon. We say we added value, but you added value to something that was there. If that base was not available, how would you add value? Isn't it? So you want entire credit for those who add value. Some you should get, certainly, maybe 60% you should get, maybe 70% you should get. 30% should go back to the people whose knowledge it was, isn't it? So who would like to raise the objection? Is there anybody who wants to share the objection? There were 3 people who polled for disagreement. Please quickly come forward and share your disagreement. You have a right to disagree. There is nothing.
Sir,
Yes, Purvi, go ahead.
sir, I'm Purvi here. Yeah, I would like to add something, because the thing is that, sir, my understanding is that intellectual, when we use words, so it's like a training that you keep everything, like others, they don't they feel like that you either not able to communicate with them, means you are at some different level, so your communication, if it reach to the common public, will it still be counted as an intellectual? That is what my because even during PhD and all, we mostly get trained that the idea should get patented, and the credit, I don't know how much can, because if we give credit to the people, which should be given, but after doing that, will we be still counted as an intellectual? And the, because then it will be the social I really am a little bit confused, because
No, but
I
you
see
have,
that even common.
go ahead. You're
Yes,
raising a very good point. So Purvi, I'm a
yeah,
professor.
I am little confused, sir, so that's why I was
Okay,
thinking.
let me try to answer this question. I'm a professor. I'm evaluated when I was still part of the system. I'm retired. I've retired in 2017, but I still teach, and I teach about 4 or 5 courses that I am in, plus this course and a course we teach to UNDP AcLab network in 115 countries online. So there are 2 such large courses to large number of people. The remaining are in IMO and 1 at IIT Bombay. Now the question is that as a professor, I'm supposed to produce knowledge, so I have to publish. I have to teach, I teach. I do consulting or some lectures in the companies. They pay me quite a lot of amount for an hour of lecture. Now the third question is, I also try to highlight, make the visible the role of grassroots innovators. Tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of such innovators have come to light because of the Honeybee Network effort, because of Srishti, Gyan, National Innovation Foundation. All of them have made a huge effort to bring them into public knowledge. Now, the question is, did I, by acknowledging them, by highlighting their creativity, did I lose my social capital or did it add to my social capital? Did I become less respected or more respected? Purvi, when we give credit to a lab attendant, when we give credit to a bystander or to a student, younger junior student who gave an idea to us when we were struggling with a problem as a personal communication, does it increase the value of my research or decrease the value of my research? What do you think when you find somebody acknowledges a personal communication or a conversation in a corridor with another person, another student or another teacher whose point made a big difference to the... Sometimes I have seen people acknowledging even a reference that, look, I'm grateful to so-and-so for bringing this reference to my notice. What does it lose? If you do that, more people will share references with you, isn't it, Purvi? So your research will become more rigorous. Is
But
it
yes,
true?
sir,
Is it
it
true
should
or
be like
wrong?
that. It should be like that. No, sir, but it's not happening. It's not happening, because
It
what
is
happens
not
most of the
happening.
time, especially
Correct.
publishing paper and all, people says, your contribution is not up to the mark, either for acknowledgement or for, because they want to keep the author list very short. I don't know why, but I always see that single author paper has more weightage, and where there are very few, some this kind of understanding is there, and then people, so it happens that actually it's not happening. It should be, but when practically you discuss, then you come up with the answer that no, your contribution is not up to the standard, and so many things comes. So at the end, it is limited to very and then this is idea is like just one person's idea, but many people are working even if it is one person's idea. But when
No,
it goes
I
for publication,
agree.
I don't see this happening.
Purvi, let me put it this way. You are, first of all, 100% right. And I'm sure some of you also share this thought with Purvi, that today we are little miserly in giving credit to people whose ideas we use in our research. Is it true, generally speaking, Gaurav? Gaurav, ये सही बात है कि गलत है?
Yes, sir, I agree. It's
Now,
actually right.
supposing you were generous, you were liberal in giving credit to people whose ideas have helped your research, will you be seen as a good person or a bad person?
Sir, I will be seen a good person. And in fact, I
No,
will see myself as a good person. I'll be,
that is very
you know,
important what you said, Gaurav, just now.
yeah,
I will see myself as a good person.
exactly.
Self-respect is more important than respect by others. I think you have you have you have hit the nail on its head by saying
Yes,
that
sir.
you will feel good about yourself. Urvi,
Right.
me in life, this matters the most. If I can sleep in the night peacefully, being at peace with myself, I will be happy. But if I cannot, because I feel that I'm not good enough person, I'm not being fair to my friends. This particular reference, I give you one example, and self-critical example. When I was doing my master's in genetics, there was a paper by P.K. Das and H.K. Jain on biochemical parameters of adaptability, not biochemical, cytological parameters of adaptability, where they had looked at some cytological properties for finding adaptive varieties. That paper was H.K. Jain, Dr. H.K. Jain at that time was professor of genetics. Later he became director and also very well internationally renowned. P.K. Das was his PhD student. This paper intrigued me, and I wanted to do my research on this subject. And 1972-73. When I wrote my thesis, I did not work on cytology at all. So I thought that my work is not on cytology. So maybe there's no need to refer to this work. Dr. Kakkar, S.N. Kakkar, who was professor and who had worked with the president of the American Genetic Society, Dr. Roman, very renowned professor. At the 35, he had become dean and professor, very reputed professor. He was dean at the time. I was his student. He used to take one master's student, one PhD student. He said, Anil, you have not mentioned the reference which inspired you to do the research. I said, sir, I thought that my work was not on cytology, so I did not refer. But you are right that that work indeed inspired me. He was a microbial geneticist. So he had told me once that, look, I will not be able to guide you on your work because I don't know much about plant genetics. Different. But I said, I don't want to learn about plant genetics from you. I will learn it myself. I want to learn about how to do good research. And that lesson I will never forget. And I'm confessing before all of you that that reference was missing. He reminded me and I put that reference in. Now, maybe in my limited understanding as a young person of 20 years at that time, I was not able to see this significance of inspirational reference, not just logical reference, but inspirational reference, which triggers in your mind an idea. That is no less important than a logical reference that you build upon when you write your thesis. Your experiments are based on that. So I would say that I've done this mistake myself. And I'm admitting before you that I did this mistake. And by doing that, I want to tell you that it makes me feel very proud now that I do want to refer to even the personal communications when I feel that this has made a difference to me. So coming back to the honeybee network story, it is a struggle for feeling good about oneself. I think, Gaurav, as you put it, I have to give credit to people whose knowledge made it possible. Mind you, in the first 4 or 5 years, when people asked, how do you fund your research? I said, look, I hire people in my project. They work. I pay them. Instead of paying myself, I pay to my staff 90% of my income. So in that sense, I was trying to compensate for my guilt. I was trying to atone for my guilt. But I also learned one very important lesson, and that lesson might be useful for you. If you don't invest in your ideas, you don't fund your ideas for which there is no sponsor, but that question has come to your mind, and you must find an answer to that question. Then others will not invest in your ideas either. I learned it hard way. If I had not invested in developing this idea of honeybee network and did not help in setting up Srishti in 93 and Gyan in 97 and NIF in 2000, just now Dr. Mashilkar was recalling how NI was set up. I'll tell you that today. So Now, how would other people come? Why would government invest? And Dr. Kelkar, was sitting here a little while ago, he was finance secretary and they contributed 20 crore as a corpus for NI, 20 crore corpus. Because we had already done some work. We documented innovations. I'll tell you the story in a while. So the question is that if you have invested in your ideas, you have created some benchmark, some little proof of concept, then getting investment from others becomes easier. But if you think only when you get money from others, you will take up this research, even though it is your question, your curiosity, then you may have to wait long. That's the point I'm trying to tell. So Honeybee Network started. We started collecting a lot of ideas. But the method we followed was very interesting. In summer, there were 23 Gandhian institutions, Gyan Vidyapeeth in Gujarat. It began from Gujarat and then expanded into other parts of the country and other countries. In China, we had a very strong Honeybee Network node, and the strongest outside of India was in China and some other countries. So when the ideas started coming, the students will go to villages in the summer. We paid them very nominal meal. At that time, in 1989, 88, 20 rupees or 25 rupees we gave them per day to cover their food and other expenses and travel expenses. They will come back and bring some ideas from the villages which they found interesting. There were 3 criteria for selection of ideas: interesting, intriguing, inspiring. Interesting, something different from what. Don't worry about attendance, Paul, my dear friends. I have removed it. So just take it easy now. Ignore it. Just ignore it. It's all right. You are all marked at present. So just ignore it. Don't worry. Anjali, don't worry. Shag, Devidatta, Anamika, don't worry about that. Now, interesting, intriguing, or inspiring. Mind you, these are very meaningful ways of categorizing ideas. Interesting is something that generates your curiosity. Why is that being done like that? Intriguing is something that you see as relevant, but you can't figure out why somebody is doing it. Why are you doing that? And inspiring is something, oh my God, you could do this? That is such a tough problem. How do you solve it? There were 3 kinds of ideas that students, undergraduate students, 17-year-old, 18-year-old, 19-year-old, they will go to the villages and collect these ideas. And we will then document them. In some cases, we will say, oh, this is very interesting. I didn't know. When a young rural boy listened from a professor of IMA, oh, you didn't know, his self-worth increased. He realized that he's capable of finding ideas and that people in village where he got this idea are capable of developing such an idea that even a professor of IM doesn't know. Now, this is very important. Admitting our ignorance can empower people. Please appreciate that. Priti, can you appreciate this point? What is the significance of this? If I say I do not know, how will it empower others? Priti, Abha, Deepak, Elizabeth, do you have any thought on this? Rashmi?
That will make you think like you are more intelligent or more resourceful.
So the person to whom you are telling that, look, I didn't know this, will feel that he knows or she knows something that you don't know. That means you are a learner and that person is a teacher, correct? And what is wrong in saying that I don't have answers to all the questions? None of us knows I have answer to all the questions. I'll give you one example. I don't know if I told you, probably not. So in 2018 or 17, we had collected a lot of content for government school children. And we want, because when we go on Shodhyatra, we stay in the villages. So I asked in the class, I teach a course called as Creativity, Innovation, Knowledge Network and Entrepreneurship, CINE. And this course is going to begin very soon for our students in IMA. So the question was, look, we have content. We will go to the villages, do it yourself, yes. So we said we have content and we are going to go to the villages, but they don't have computer. How will we give this content to them? So one student got up and said, sir, don't you know about OTG cable? I said, no, I have never heard about OTG cable. What is it? Sir, it has a macro USB on one side, USB on the other side. If you take data on the pen drive, at least teacher will have a smartphone. He will transfer the content from the pen drive to the phone and show it to the children. I said, my problem is solved. Now, if I don't share my ignorance in the class, would I have discovered this solution? What's wrong in sharing? How can a teacher know answer to all the questions? Aarti, did you want to say anything? So, have you come across such examples where someone less knowledgeable than you apparently has given you an insight that you wouldn't have got it if you had not admitted your ignorance? Anybody want to share a personal experience? Anybody? Has it happened to you that you learned something from either common people or from a junior student or from a neighbor? Suddenly you asked something and you said, my God, I didn't know this. Any example? All right. This has happened to me many times, and I will give you more examples of that. So the Honeybee Network essentially began by pooling the ideas from the grassroots. And we wanted to say that poor people are not poor, that they can't even think. Our argument was that poor people may be economically poor, but not poor in mind. You get the point? They are not poor in mind. They may be rich in knowledge. They may be rich in ethics. Poor people share more than the rich. They may be rich in, very good point, Ankita, I'll come to that point. They may be poor in economic terms, but they may be rich in ethics. They may be rich in culture. They may know how to paint, beautiful wall painting. So the question is that Honeybee Network was trying to prove certain very basic premise, which in some sense had been ignored in the literature for a very long time. And mind you, initially my colleagues didn't understand what I was doing. My colleagues did not even appreciate what that, look, this man is working MOU with ICMR, MOU informal science. History was full of exploitative experiences all over the world. All over. Famous you became. That was the rule till that time. Even today, I would admit, University Grants Commission and AICTE have not yet changed their policies. We will have to change this, but they have not changed these policies so far. Someday they will, I can tell you. In our lifetime, my lifetime, these rules will change and you will all be informal sector if they got input from them. And it will be obligatory to every scholar to share their finding in common language with the people if it has a social implication. And third, it will be morally required, if not legally required, that if you gain something out of it, share it with people. So that we feel good about ourselves, as Gaurav, I think, had mentioned earlier. So we began to document. We started bringing out a newsletter, Honeybee newsletter, which I'm going to share with you in different languages. We found volunteers in Kannada. At that time, today, we don't have a Kannada version. We have Tamil. Vivekanandan brings out in Madurai. Balaram brings out in Odia. Brigadier Ganeshan brings out in Telugu. And in Gujarati, Hindi, and English, we bring out from our institutions in Ahmedabad, Srishti and Gyan. And slowly, and then we are getting now a friend in Colombia who is bringing out a Spanish version, the first translation of one issue from 90s. He has sent me yesterday night. His name is Christian Barita. He's a professor from a local college. He met me recently when we went there, Bogota, and he has translated already with his help of the students. He teaches languages, and he said, I can use my students, 75 students, to translate this content in local language so that our people benefit from the knowledge in India and other parts of the world. So a Spanish language version is coming up very soon. We also had 2 issues worked out in French, but they did not sustain. So we are hoping that someday we will find a partner who will also bring out French language so that the Francophone Africa also gets to benefit from whatever we do, and we benefit from what they do, and likewise. So the knowledge started flowing in from other countries. China shared with us 5,600 innovations from China, from Grassroot. And how would we have access to them? If we didn't share with them, we shared with them, they shared with us. So we know a great deal about how Chinese solve the problems and how Chinese mind works when it comes to solve the problem. Why are they able to make things more frugally than India does? So that understanding started evolving. We started working on policy issues. And I will, today, if you don't mind, I can leave you 5 minutes or 7 minutes early, but if you don't take break, can we continue? Or you want a break?
Yes, sir. Continue.
Everybody
Yes, sir. We
agrees?
can continue.
Thank you.
Yes,
So,
sir.
all right. So I will now tell you about the insights we gained from people, some examples to tell you how Honeybee Network brought ethical issues, technological issues. So let me first give a technological example. So what happened that there was an Indian conference on biochemistry and plant physiology in Kottayam way back in 87, 88, sometime around there. Dr. S.K. Sinha was the Water Technology Center director at the time in IRI, Indian Agriculture Research Institute. This was focusing on drought. I had done a lot of work on drought. So they said, look, we work on plant and water, but we don't work on plant and person. So tell us about how people cope with the drought. We will tell you about how plants cope with the drought. And that was interesting. So I went there. And in my talk, I added three examples of one problem, which I said in the end that if some of you at the tea time can tell me what could be the connection between these 3 things, I'll be very happy. What were the 3 things I said? I said, when I had a pain in my ear, landlady put her breast milk. When animals get foot and mouth disease, people in Gujarat put milk on the hoof of the animal, cattle. When people in Andhra Pradesh, at that time, combined Andhra Pradesh, transplant tobacco seedlings, after transplanting few seedlings, they put their hand in a pot of milk, and tobacco mosaic virus, it is believed, if spores have come on your fingers, milk inactivates it. So I said, what is the connection between these 3 things? One student who was a doctoral student at that time in CCMP, Datananda, who is now in CET, Columbia, I suppose, he came to me at tea time and said, sir, Both TMV and FMD, foot and mouth disease, are type 2 RNA viruses. Now listen to it carefully, those of you who are with biology background. Both are type 2 RNA viruses. Milk has RNase enzyme. After the protease cut the protein coat, maybe the RNase enzyme inactivates the virus. Now, I do not know whether this hypothesis is valid or not, but it gave me a meaning because I shared publicly question which I had no answer to. Now, can you imagine knowledge of people could sometime advance the frontiers of science? Now go further and let me show you that. Let me show you that example. In Ontario Department of Agriculture, milk virus control. There is a Department of Agriculture site. I'm showing you that page now. Give me 1 minute. No, India does not have this advisory, though we have a lot of research done. But Canada puts this advisory on their screen, on their website. Here it is, ontario.ca. I will put the link also in chat, so you can also see it when you find time. But this shows how knowledge can extend the frontiers of science, not just a small solution and then you forget about it. It is adding frontier of science. It is producing solution that is better than, why am I not able to? So I've shared with the chat, in the chat. There are currently no available chemicals for controlling viral disease in infected plant. This is the statement that Department of Agriculture here, see the milk as management tool of viral disease. And this is a statement they are making. They are referring to various studies, mode of action. There are many hypotheses. In 1930, somebody said by lowering the plant susceptibility to virus, other working 40s of milk as inactive virus by forming a loose molecular union, which broken results in reactivation of virus. There was some thought that inhibiting effect was reversible. And Australian scientists support the early hypothesis that it contains substance that inhibits. They didn't know which substance. As we now know, RNase enzyme is there, which cuts the RNA, etc., and practical implications. The cutting and implement should be dipped in milk between the plant to reduce spread of virus. Can you imagine? Here is an advanced country, a European, North American country, which is offering a worker-friendly solution to reducing incidence of virus by using a natural product like milk. Why does India feel hesitant in saying that, on its Ministry of Agriculture website or Department of Agriculture website? We feel we'll become backward if we try to refer to the people's knowledge. In the modern science, we should have a sophisticated solution. But if something simple can solve the problem, why not? Why do I need to go to complicated solution if a problem can be solved at low cost? So this is one example. This is a technological example. There are many such examples where knowledge of the people can indeed advance the frontiers of science. And this is certainly a fit case of that. Let me give you next example. We had gone to Virampur, North Gujarat, on the edge of Balaram and Jessore sanctuary, slot bear sanctuary, Bhalu jahan par rehta hai, North Gujarat. So we had a healer, traditional healer, Karim Bhai, and I had Janti Bhai Patel, a photographer, filmmaker from ISRO. ISRO had a division of filmmaking at that time. It's early 80s. So we asked Karim Bhai to sit on a rock. I sat on a rock. And he was making a camera adjustment. And he took a twig of a plant on the roadside and asked Karim Bhai to hold it in his hand. And he became upset. So I said, Karim Bhai, why are you upset? Sir, did we need this branch of plant? I said, like a fool, I said, there are so many of them. So what if I took a small branch? He said, what did you say, so many? In nature, there is nothing ever too many. And I tell you, he said, I could have sat near the plant if you wanted in my hand. Why did you take it off? Now, I had a habit. when I will stand near a bush or something, I'll pluck some leaves and crush them in my fingers. If I sit on the lawn, I'll take a blade of grass and chew it in my mouth. I used to do that. Now, the moment my hand goes to the leaf, Karim Bhai comes in front of me, says, "Do you need it?" And I tell you, I will never forget that day because it taught me something fundamental about nature ethics. There's never too many nature. To my mind, the foolish mind that I had at that time, to me, it seemed there were so many plants growing on the roadside. So what if I took one plant? In his mind, every plant was fulfilling a need of a niche at that time in the nature. Nature has no waste, has no surplus. It just has enough for everybody. The whole cycle, natural cycle turning. So one can learn some profound lessons from innovations. I'll give you a third example. I don't know if I mentioned to you. Probably I didn't mention the first day. We were in Purulia. And did I mention this example about the horses, terracotta horses? No? All right. If I did not, then I'll tell you. If I did, don't mind repetition. So we were in a village. We were in Vishodhyatra, and we were standing under a village, under a tree. And that around near the tree, there were a lot of terracotta horses kept. So we asked the people, why did they keep such beautiful horses? Somebody can take them, somebody can break them. By the time the village opportunity was, they knew that I'm a professor. Professor, you've done a mistake. I said, what mistake did I do? We haven't kept the most beautiful ones. We have kept the best one. Best one. Why did you keep the best one? Let me show you. If I can show you, then you will see the point. Let me see. Let me see if I have that photograph. You will find it interesting. You will see how, yes, here it is. So, did I show this photograph to you earlier, if you remember?
It's true.
Is it visible?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
All right.
Yes, sir.
Yes,
these were
yes.
have I shown it earlier? No.
Yes.
Or yes?
No, sir.
No,
All
sir,
right.
you haven't.
Okay. So,
Sir, not in PowerPoint mode.
view. Yeah, is okay. So these were the people said, sir, we have not kept the most beautiful ones. We have kept the best ones. I said, why did you keep the best ones? So here you see a passage. This is a small wall. And there was a road here, Kacha Road. When this is a road from where our children go to school in the morning. When they go to school, they should see what the level of excellence is among the elders in the village. They should do better. Can you imagine a village in Purulia trying to create open source standards of excellence to inspire children to do better than what elders have done and do it every day? I can tell you, I was flabbergasted. I had never heard. Although I know that some of you in the corridors of your lab do paste or pin some of the top papers that you publish so that it creates envy, but also inspiration. Those who haven't published feel envious, and those who have published will also feel inspired and also appreciate, oh, you have published a paper in Nature Communications, wonderful, congratulations. So it promotes excellence. People see, oh, in our lab, such good work is going. So here is a community in Purulia, West Bengal, which is creating open source standards of excellence. So this is another example we found that there are different ways in our country people want to inspire others. And Honeybee Network has given us opportunity to meet such people. So what have we tried to do? We have tried to change the context, to change the content. You have heard the Akbar and Birbal story? The story was, let me show, take a blank slide. The story was that a line was drawn. Let me see, where is the line? Draw. A line was drawn, and the problem was that Birbal said to Akbar that, look, you are not very wise. You were son of a king, so you became king. Akbar said, no, I am wise because my people are also wise. Yatha Raja Tatha Praja. If I was not wise, then my people will not be wise. Birbal said, I can't take your exam. Can I give a quiz to the people in the kingdom? He said, go ahead. So Birbal designed this quiz. Most of you have heard this quiz, but the interpretation that I'm going to give is a new one. So the quiz was, you have to shorten this line without rubbing it. So what was done? Anybody?
Create new line, bigger line. Create one more bigger line.
Bigger line. So a bigger line was drawn. What did it do? It changed the context. What did it change? It changed the content. The earlier line became smaller. My dear friends, Honeybee Network has changed the context of innovation in this country. 35 years ago, 40 years ago, nobody talked about innovation. Nobody talked about how can intellectual property right be protected. We filed patents in 98, got them in 2003 in US for people who were not educated beyond 10th class to prove a point. And this was possible. So basically, we were changing the context. We were saying that the grassroots people can raise issues, can share knowledge, which is so precious that our scientists will benefit by learning from it. As Dr. Mashilkar often says, laboratory of life versus laboratory of science. These people work in laboratory of life. We and all of you work in laboratory of science. But can these two labs get connected? That is what this course is trying to do, to see if we can get connection between the two. So let me show you one example of wait a minute. So basically what was trying to do, there is a passion. Passion has a purpose. All of you are passionate about your work. There's a purpose you are pursuing. There's a process you are following for getting performance, but all of it requires a platform. Honeybee Network provides a platform to connect knowledge of people with knowledge of scientists, technologists, policymakers. And now I will give you a story of how, let me just remove it. So when we collected this knowledge and we started developing different models, in 93, we set up Srashti, Society for Research and Initiative for Sustainable Technology Institutions. And dozens of awards came my way. That is not important. What is important was that the world was taking note. Word was taking note that there is something this person is saying, which may change the way knowledge systems are conceptualized. So, one of the arguments we made was that why regions of high biodiversity have high poverty. Now, this question, which I raised, I think, in a paper in 92 or 91, triggered a debate. In 2004, United Nations issued a map of the world where they showed that regions of high poverty, the hotspots of biodiversity, had the highest number of children with stunted growth, less than 5 years. So this was an empirical evidence of what I had speculated. And why did I speculate? Anybody of you can tell me why people in high regions of biodiversity tend to remain poor? Why? Any guess?
They don't struggle.
Huh?
They don't struggle to excel.
No. Any other idea? Any other possibility?
So maybe they were not killing animals to eat
They're
or
not.
something
They're
like
not.
that.
They're not.
So maybe they were trying to conserve the biodiversity and were not killing animals for meat and stuff.
There is a partial truth here that because you conserve wildlife and biodiversity, you don't destroy the nature. You try to live within the limits of what nature provides, and therefore you don't accumulate as much as people who have cut the forest, converted forest land into plain, cultivated land, and they're trying to accumulate wealth. So in that sense, you are right that they do not accumulate enough. That is true. Anybody else? Why does biodiversity trigger poverty?
Maybe because that particular area is not as developed. That is the reason why the biodiversity is being able to flourish in those hotspots or sustain.
So why this area doesn't develop is what the question I'm asking. So let me show you this. Let me show you the connection, the way I try to build it. And please object to it or correct it if you don't agree with it. So please don't accept what I'm going to say. So these were the papers I had published from 91 onwards, which were trying to build a relationship between poverty and biodiversity. Then came this graph, this map I told you just now. Prevalence of stunting among children under 5 in areas of more than 2 inhabitants per square kilometer. And these were the selected areas of major wilderness areas and biodiversity hotspots. And you find that biodiversity hotspots in areas of wilderness had higher stunting around the world, not just in India. So this was an evidence of what I was saying. Now, why did it happen? And let me show you this. So you see, this is a shop of vegetable. How many kinds of brinjal do you see here? 1. Tomato, 1. Gourd, 1. Beans, maybe 2 or 3. Lady's finger, 1. Carrot, 1. So naturally, the way shelves are designed and the way market is organized, there is no way this person can keep 10 kinds of brinjal or 5 kinds of tomato or 6 kinds of carrot on his shelf. Another shop. Another shop. Another. This now we go to a mall. So this was the problem, that market did not favor diversity. But we all want diversity as a consumer. We don't want to eat the same carrot every day. We want black one. Some of you must have seen black carrot. Kanji was made out of it. Those of you who are from North India would know that. There's a purple carrot. There's a dark red carrot. And there is a pinkish carrot. There are different kinds of carrot. They have different anthocyanins, and they are in different proportion and different kind color. Color is nothing but vitamin. Please remember, if you take fruits or vegetables of 5 colors, you get all your vitamins. So those of you who believe in food as medicine should remember that. 5 colors and your need are met. I take red, I take yellow papaya, I take green pepper, I take purple brinjal, I take red tomato, etc., etc. And all my vitamin needs are completed. So diversity of color and diversity of shape and diversity of nutrition, all of these are linked, and that is linked with our sustainability of our life and sustainability of nature. So all of these people have a problem, they can't show more. But this is a vendor, same problem. Markets are ruthless. Now, this is a challenge that Honeybee Network was facing. We want to conserve biodiversity, and markets are not willing to accept and cooperate with us. What do we do? So we started organizing biodiversity, a Sattvic festival. Those of you who are in Ahmedabad or around Ahmedabad should visit it. From December 23rd to 26th in Bhagavad Vidyapith, there will be traditional food and nutrition festival. Traditional food and nutrition festival, where communities from Baramulla, Sikkim, and Nagaland will also come. But in addition to that, you will also have a lot of farmers, organic farmers, and a lot of varieties of millet and so on and so forth. So now the question was, let me come here. The question was that if we create a different kind of shelf, let us say, you have, instead of horizontal lying carrot, you had slots in this carrot. Each slot had one kind of carrot. So let us say there are 20 slots or 15 slots, depending upon how many kinds of carrot I have. I have 4 slots, 4 kinds of carrot I display in one carrot. Each one is coded. I have an app in my hand. I say I want 200 grams of carrot 1, 200 grams of carrot 2, 3, 4, and 5 kinds of peppers, yellow peppers, red peppers, so on and so forth. And then at the back end, the logistics system will put all of these quantities together. And when I go to checkout, I get my pack with all the ones that I've selected. That means in the same shelf space, instead of showing more quantity of one, which means I collect from here, it is only for making your selection, not for picking up the quantity. Quantity will get packed and delivered to you at the outlet, at the payment counter. Now, this is a conceptual vision today. It has not become reality. But if some of you were to work, those of you who are in computer science or who are cognitive science or who are in the supply chain management somewhere, maybe quantitative analysis, might someday make it possible. The question I'm trying to drive home is that Honeybee Network was raising hard questions of policy, hard questions of academic rigor, research, and hard questions of reality, and trying to confront the international and national policymakers with choices that would have to be made if we wanted to conserve diversity. You can't, and we made a point, you can't conserve your people biodiversity by keeping people poor. That was our moral argument. People said, sir, if you bring development, biodiversity will go away. So then you keep them poor. You let the tribal be always, the child of a tribal should become a servant in your home. All of you, someday you should look at who are the gardeners, where the gardeners of your campus come from, where the cook in your campus come from, where the sanitation workers in your campus come from. You will find they don't come from the developed regions. They come from marginal regions. So that means God has created 2 kinds of people, one who will be served and one who will serve. This doesn't seem fair. Imagine if you belong to one of those regions which is backward, how would you feel if society provides only certain opportunities to you, unless you are very brilliant or unless you are very lucky to get good opportunities? This is not fair. In Delhi, you will find a lot of workers are from mountain areas, isn't it, Gaurav, in NPL?
Yes, sir. I myself am from mountain area.
तुम समझते मेरी बात का जो मैं कह रहा हूँ? A lot of people migrate,
Yes, sir.
correct? And we want mountain biodiversity to be conserved. You know, mountains are the sources of river. All rivers, practically most of them, originate from mountains. If mountains are not preserved, rivers will change their course, rivers will dry up, and how will civilizations survive? That means people in the mountains should live in penury, live in poverty, and conserve the environment so that people in the plains can flourish and be happy and prosperous. That is not a fair word. That is not a word our network wants to propagate or sustain. So we asked these questions, and these questions became very serious issues. So one of the questions that we were trying to raise was that we have to create a registry of knowledge, a global registry, a national registry, a regional registry. And this advice I was giving to conventional biological diversity. In Trondheim, Norway, there was a meeting where I was talking about this. We also said there might be a golden triangle of creativity. GYAN was set up in 97 to build this triangle, linking innovation, investment, enterprise. All the three things will not be at one place. And then we said there should be a portfolio of incentives for people, material, non-material, individual, or collective. We will come to this issue in the class on incentives. I'll skip it now. We should take prior informed consent. Mind you, much before Earth Summit took place in 92 and Convention of Biological Diversity came about, we were already talking about knowledge rights. And then, of course, we should have diffusion from sharing of commercial and non-commercial parties. We also wanted a macro venture finance, open source technologies, etc., etc. And this is the photograph of the food festival. Very old festival. Now it is very crowded and much more number of stalls where people come and show. So let me stop here and continue with the last part of the story. And that will give me a chance to help you to see the larger picture. And I want to leave 15 minutes for question answer. So this is the last part, and then I would like to hear from you. What do you think can be done to link all of you as volunteers in some way or the other, no matter which discipline you come from, and no matter what you do? Essentially, to answer one question which Gaurav had mentioned, how to make you feel good about yourself. Nothing else. There's only one goal I have. Every one of you should feel proud of yourself, good about yourself, because you are connecting with the roots of our society. So I'll tell you now a story. So 97, we had a conference in IMA, an international conference on creativity and innovation at Grassroot. That was the first conference, iccig.org. And on iccig.org, you will find the report of previous 4 conferences. And the 5th one will be next year. And I'm sure some of you will like to present your papers on blending the modern and people's knowledge in that conference. So the chief secretary was Mr. Shailat at that time in Gujarat. He was invited. And we said, look, we have documented a lot of knowledge, but we are not able to make a difference to their life. What should we do? He said, okay, I'll announce an award, a fund of 1 crore rupees. It could not become 1 crore. It was only 35 lakh later on. But he announced it. And please submit a proposal. So in January 11 to 14, 97, the conference took place. On March 1st, GYAN was launched, Gujarat Grassroot Innovation Augmentation Network. And idea was to make this triangle happen that I showed you, innovation, investment, enterprise. Then 98, by the time we had about 10,000 innovations, I started meeting different secretaries to the government of India. Industry, science and technology, rural development, MSME, planning commission. At that time, it was planning commission. And everybody said, we can support you for a pilot project. I said, I have already done a pilot. We already have 10,000 documents. Not with 1 penny has not been taken from government. So why do you think we need to prove it again that this idea works? Finally, there was one additional secretary, Gopal Krishnan, who later became election commissioner, chief election commissioner. One friend from IT department, I'm forgetting his name, he took me to Mr. Gopal Krishnan, and then from there, he said, go and meet one physicist in Ministry of Finance, he will understand what you're saying. So Dr. E.S. Sarma was Secretary Expenditure. And I went to see him, and he kept me waiting for 4 hours. I was about to leave, and he said, "Wait a minute. I'm sorry, but some delegation came. Come inside." I showed him the database. So there was a innovation from Etikopakka village, which is a village near Vishakhapatnam, where there's a person, C.V. Raju, who makes toys with vegetative colors. You know, children put every toy in their mouth, and many times the colors are toxic, or they have chemicals, dyes, which are not safe for children. So he used vegetative dyes to dye the toys, wooden toys. And this was the village from where Dr. Sarma came. He said, "How did you reach there?" I said, "You didn't ask this question about other villages where we reached. So we didn't know that it's your village. How do we know?" So anyway, he called Dr. Kelkar. Dr. Kelkar was in the adjoining room, finance secretary. He came for 5 minutes, he stayed for 1 hour. And today Dr. Mashilka was remembering me. And Dr. Kelkar then said, "Anil, we are convinced." I said, "If you're not convinced, I'll come after 5 years." No, we are convinced. "What do you want?" I said, "I want a national foundation." "How much resources do you need?" I said, "About 200 crores. He said, "All right, write a proposal. Let me talk to the minister." In between that time, 99, Kargil happened. And Kargil means a lot of expenditure, a lot of income, resources went towards war, and no department had sufficient funds. So 200 crore became 20 crore. And a corpus was given, and in 2000, National Innovation Foundation was set up, which had Ila Bahan as member, Dr. Kelkar as member, Anand Mahindra as member, very eminent board member. Dr. Mashilkar was chairperson. I was actually vice chair. The point was, such a foundation did not exist anywhere in the world. So we were creating a framework which did not exist. We were creating an institution which did not exist. There was no design to copy from. No country had a foundation to promote people's knowledge and creativity and innovation and file patents for them and give them risk capital and convert them into businesses. That's how the foundation came into being, to do this, all that. We defined all the functions. The point I'm trying home is, and this is, sorry for taking personal example, but my point is, each one of you is capable of seeing dreams which are transformative. They may look impossible to begin with. And my colleagues didn't believe me in IMA. Nobody believed me, because I was talking about changing the world. And I wanted to begin with changing our country. And it was not easy. In 2004, Dr. Mashilka was DG CSIR. And he was anyway chairman of NIF in 2000, so he knew what we were doing. And I said, "Why don't we sign a formal agreement with you so that CSIR labs will work on this knowledge?" And of course, we signed an agreement. Some work took place under that. Dr. R. Kumar was the chairperson of the Joint Implementation Committee and so on and so forth. But a lot of work was done informally. I told you, I think before, I will repeat that. All the scientists who helped us in validating people's knowledge for awards did not charge for their time. Not one scientist. Not one IP lawyer. So scientists have made a great contribution to this cause by not charging for their time. Many of them did not charge for consumables. I remember Dr. Kundu at that time was in NCC, National Center for Cell Science in Pune. And there was a cancer medicine which he was doing research on. And he was looking at the very highly sophisticated research to show how cells were being inhibited by this compound, and amazing work of great sophistication. And he did not charge a penny from us. He said, "I have enough project funds, I can take care of it. Why do you worry?" So like that, there was another professor for typhoid in ICMR Institute in Kolkata. He later became director of Institute in Dharwad, Chattopadhyay. And they gave authorship in the paper to the knowledge provider. I will show you that paper next time. So it is not that people were not building examples. They gave authorship to the person whose knowledge made that drug possible. We filed patent for that in US. He was granted patent despite TKDL filing an objection against us. And all this was being done with the help of resources that we did not have enough. If that same research had to be done funded by DST or DBT, the proposal would have been of 25 lakh. We hardly spent 2-3 lakh, that's all. In Kolkata lab, maybe less. So the point I'm driving home is that it is possible. You have a large country, billion people, more knowledge. We have not even scratched the surface as yet. A great deal remains to be done. And the examples that you have in the next class, we will discuss them, of the knowledge that you have collected. I hope others have added. Have you added the other knowledge to that, or how many of you have added further? Those three lists that I had sent you. We had only 180 till yesterday. I've not checked today. I will check it tonight. But please do take time before the next class to fill it up so that we can select a few. And this is an open list, so you can see each other's knowledge. And if you want to select some practices, mind you, it is not necessary that one who documents or shares should also do the validation. You may be in NPL doing physics. Knowledge may be of biodiversity. NPL may not be able to help in validation, but somebody from IIIM or from CDRI or CMAP or CCMB or NCL may be able to extract and find some validity. So please don't think that the one who is sharing knowledge must also validate. So you can make groups like that, let's say if Gaurav has some traditional knowledge of his grandparents, somebody else from NCL, from CMAP, you can make a group interinstitutional. Gaurav will get you the material if required. Other people will bring their chemistry, biology into the picture. And a combined project can emerge. And by the end of your effort, we will have a validation. You can publish a paper out of it. I have no problem with that. But Gaurav's grandfather should be one of the co-authors. है भाई गौरव, सही बात है? इस पेपर से गौरव के ग्रैंडफादर को कोई फर्क नहीं पड़ेगा. प्लीज अंडरस्टैंड दैट. उनको क्या फर्क पड़ता है उनके नाम से? उन्होंने जिंदगी जी ली, हमने अपनी जिंदगी जी ली यार. अब हमें थोड़ी चाहिए ऑथरशिप. लेकिन क्या होगा? यू विल फील गुड अबाउट योरसेल्फ कि हमने दादा का नाम डाला है, दादा के ज्ञान से हम आगे बढ़े. तो आपको अच्छा लगेगा कि यार पेपर में हमारे सिर्फ साइंटिस्ट, वो भी तो साइंटिस्ट हैं जिनकी नॉलेज पे हमने काम किया. वो इनफॉर्मल सेक्टर के साइंटिस्ट हैं, हम फॉर्मल सेक्टर के साइंटिस्ट हैं. ये डिस्टिंक्शन को हमें कम करना है, खत्म करना है. और धीरे धीरे हम सब एक ही ग्रुप के लोग बन जाएंगे. कल आई एम टॉकिंग एट इंडियंस ऑफ साइंसेज बैंगलोर एंड प्रिंसिपल साइंटिफिक एडवाइजर टू गवर्नमेंट Dr. Sood has organized a meeting on multiplicity of knowledge, and I'm going to talk about sync to source there also tomorrow afternoon. So please understand that even the PSA's office is beginning to appreciate, slowly beginning to appreciate the need for blending these two knowledge systems. Imagine if it becomes a national policy, which I hope it will after this webinar tomorrow. We all will be proud that what we started 35 years ago has now become a mainstream way of doing science in our country. I'm not saying other science should not be done. All of your fundamental science should continue. Without that, we will not get good application. But at the same time, we should also do this. I will stop here and wait for your questions now. Any question about the journey, about the processes that we followed, or anything that you want to know about this framework, or anything that you disagree with, or anything that you want to add, which we have ignored, which you should be taken into account. Please go ahead. Time for you to ask questions. We have at least 10 minutes. And I'm sorry once again for being late. I got carried away in my talk. And, I'm very sorry. Go ahead, please. Thanajam Isya Devi. Am I pronouncing your name right? Unmute yourself. Any comment? Unmute yourself and then share. Asia or Asia? I can't hear you. You have to unmute yourself. Unmute yourself. Unmute yourself. Unmute yourself. Now.
You are pronouncing rightly, sir.
Okay, so tell me, what's your feedback? What question comes to your mind? Where are you from? Manipur?
Yes, I am from Manipur.
Yeah, I could guess it right by your name. All right. We have done Shodhyatra in Churachandrapur. I want to tell you something about Manipur, because there is so much of tension going on there. In Churachandrapur, when we started our Shodhyatra, we started from a village, from a hostel. You know, long time ago in 90s, there was a conflict between Nagas and Kokis. And the children, orphan children from both the communities, learn in this ashram together. I pray that Metis and Cookies once again will be together. That's my
Yes,
prayer.
we need it, sir.
Because all this division is artificial and we should reject it. Now, what do you think? Well, tell me, what's your feedback on what we talked today? Where do you see the network can help in shaping the evolution of science for society? What do you think can do?
At present, sir, we need peace in the state. Mind are all not so stable because of so much fluctuations in the connectivity and internet connections. So all the business and everything are all stopped and hampered, and even blockades are happening in many of the places. So food are also not getting properly. So people are suffering here, in fact. So many of the things are stopped and seized. So
Do you
at
know?
present, we are just praying for the peace only.
Yeah, but I said, would you be surprised if I tell you that Imphal is one town where we got the maximum number of innovation in one city?
Yes, sir. I
You
belong
know,
to it.
you will all be surprised. Not in Delhi, not in Bombay, not in Ahmedabad, but in Imphal. We had more than 20 innovations. I'm talking
Yes,
about
sir.
early 2000, a double weft loom, and so many other innovations, so many
Yes.
innovations, dryer. And there is a market in Imphal where only women run the
Yes,
market.
Ima market.
Yes.
Only
Only
women
women
are.
run that market, no
Yes,
men.
sir. Yes, sir.
So, you know, Manipur is a leader in the country on gender justice in many
Yes.
ways, I would
Yes,
say.
sir.
What has happened to that society, unfortunately? But
Mm.
there is so much to learn from Northeast. Anybody else wants to say anything on the framework that we discussed today about the ethical framework, the institutional framework, policy framework? How can we do something better with all of you? Ruxana, do you have anything to say? Any suggestion, any observation, any criticism? Sudhir, Aparajita, please switch on your videos. Kirti, Kriti. Go ahead.
For making the huge change, all of us 400, 500 who are attending this, all of us have to become Professor Anil Gupta, sir.
No. Then the diversity will be lost. No. Then diversity is lost. That we need diversity. We need diversity of thought, diversity of action, diversity of values, diversity of culture. Diversity is the essence of life. Without diversity, no life.
I'm
So
talking of
don't be cloned. No.
No, sir, I am talking of the passion and the mission. What do you have?
Mission. So what I'm saying, let us say, supposing somebody is from physics or material science, IMT, Bhubaneswar. There are so many materials. I don't know if I can show you that picture, but I have a picture I'll show you in the next class. We were walking in Anantnag and we saw a building without any black blemish. There was no dark spot on the wall. If you go to your campus and you look at the walls, they will have black patches. What is the black patches? Some organic matter which flew with the air, went to the surface of the wall, and then rust attacked it. And that rust, when it burst, the black rust comes out and it becomes a black patch. So it is essentially the organic matter infected with fungus and in some cases bacteria that when it matures and bursts becomes black. That's the black patch. On this wall, there was no black patch. So we thought it is a new wall. We went inside, talked to people. They said, no, sir, it is 30-year-old wall. So what have we done? Sir, when we pounded the mud, we mixed jute bag and jute seat. Now, those of you who are interested who are from Eastern India should do some review on literature. You will find that jute has an antimicrobial property. So they had a kind of a material which has antimicrobial property. Can you imagine open air? You use titanium dioxide nanoparticles and mix it in the paint to make your clean room as antimicrobial. You know, titanium dioxide nanoparticles are mixed with the paint to make your room clean. Here is a wall, which is clean wall, no fungus, no bacteria. Come on. That's technology. A material scientist can take a scrape of the wall, do analysis, and if you have a material of that kind, it will be a boon to the world and to our poor people. The science of that remains to be discovered properly and validated. So there are a lot of such questions in all disciplines which need to be validated properly. A lot of such materials are there. Any other comment, please? Priyanka, you want to say something? Priyanka Arya?
Sir, there's one thing.
Yes, bolo.
Yes, sir. Sir, many times there are two things I want to say that while starting our journey in this field of PhD and research, we all had this nascent and a very, what do we say, innocent idea of taking innovations ahead, finding solutions for grassroots level. What all we discussed in our first lecture, that was the bearing in our mind when we decided we'll go into the research when we were very young in age. But when we come into the field, we realize that we have to get adjusted into the vision of the guide, the field and the direction the guide is working. We have to start working in that direction and start learning and start establishing as our ideas. And seldom do we get the space to work on such problems, such solutions. And a point of time comes in your journey after 4 years of your research that you stop thinking about these problems, these grassroots problems. You are so occupied into just making the vision of your research group and the direction of your research group, pushing it ahead, that you forget about these grassroots level and you don't get chance to even think about them rather than work on them.
Yes, let me call it, I will find a middle ground. Let thesis be the passport.
Yeah.
Once you complete the thesis, you get a passport of entering the academic world, correct?
True.
Once you have entered the academic world, you will have your own students.
Correct.
And you can deal with them differently.
That's true. That's true.
That's my hope. That's my hope. My hope is not to change your guides.
Yes, yes.
My hope is that you will, as a guide, provoke your students to ask more fundamental questions, to ask questions that can be applied. Yes, Diksha. Diksha, you raised your hand. Diksha, you want to say something? Please unmute yourself. Maybe she did by mistake. So anybody else wants to say anything before we close the day?
So there's one more thing. We sign a clause when we work in organizations like Government of India, like in our CSIR labs, or in any private institute, if we start working as an employee, we signed a clause where we actually give away our intellectual property to the mother organization.
Correct.
And we lose the opportunity to decide who gets the share, monetary or honorary or any sorts of that thing.
But CSIR allows you to set up your own startups, isn't it?
Yes, they do allow us to set up our own startups, but for patents and for technology to be
they will allow, they will license the innovation that you have developed to you.
That's true. That's true. That's true. That's for startups, sir. That's for startups. But for the patents that CSIR file, basically while joining our PhD only, we sign a document.
No, that is true. But
all
when
our
it is
intellectual
licensed,
properties.
but when it is licensed, the inventors get no share from the royalty?
Let me intervene, sir. Praveen Raj here. So in CSIR, even though inventor assigns all the inventions to the CSIR itself, if you are figuring as an inventor, if the patent is licensed or the technology based on the patent is licensed, then 40% of the revenue is shared with all the inventors.
Look at this.
Opportunities there.
Yes. So
yes,
you should, what Praveen is saying, it's good that we all get educated on this issue, that 40% of the royalty, of the license fee and the royalty, of course, will go to the inventors.
Inventors.
So it is not a bad incentive.
Yes, yes.
In our institute, when I taught, I was at IMA, we paid 50% to the institute from every earning I made. 50% went to the institute. And that's how the IMA is one of the most autonomous institutes, because we earned our money ourselves. So 40% is not bad. It's not bad, given the fact that invention was produced by using all the equipment, chemicals, and everything of the lab, isn't it?
True, sir. True, sir.
So in that sense, 40% for your intellectual capital is not bad. So at least that question gets addressed. Any other point? Nidhi, Divya, Ravi, Shivalika, Sudhir, Radhika, Manisha. I hope you are there. Shahbaz.
Sir, this is Valan, sir, from
go
CSIR
ahead.
NIST.
Yes.
Random, sir. Sir, actually, you have mentioned about the wall painting, which contains antimicrobial materials.
Yeah.
That can be worked for clean room technology kind of work. Sir,
So if you are interested, I can get you a sample sent. Some
no,
scrape
sir.
the wall. Huh?
No, sir. No, my query is like in a different point of view, sir. If it is working for common people, everyone need to get benefited. Rather than looking for antimicrobial materials, can anyone is there or anyone thought about the material which where spider web will not bind, or because most of the people are or the household people are working in the home are struggling with cleaning their spider webs, because once in a while spider webs are forming in the home, so they are struggling to clean even for a month.
But you know, spider is a very dear friend. Spider is a beneficial insect. It traps the undesirable insects. Don't try to remove spider from your life. Spider is very useful. Cleaning is all right. Once in Diwali, you clean up. But spiders are good. They're our friends. Read about them. Read a little more about spider. How many benefits spider gives you by trapping those insects which would have harmed you? पढ़ना इसके बारे में बच्चे थोड़ा सा ना. It is a friend of farmers also. In agricultural field where you have more spider is a healthy field. More snakes, more spiders. These are beneficials. They help us because they trap or kill the predators. All right. So friends, thank you so much. And you wanted to ask something further? Please go ahead.
No, sir. Actually, I don't want to eradicate them. I just want to make the beneficial for the
Thank you
ladies,
for being
maybe
kind.
especially for the household people.
Yeah, because I love as much biodiversity as I can. I can protect. I will like to. Of course, we all are. We don't want harmful insects or harmful pathological insects or disease-spreading mosquitoes to be there around us. That's fair. So, friends, all right. Please fill up all the 3 checklists. And there is a comment here. Let me just see that comment. What did you say on herbal? I missed that point. What was the point you made just now? Let me. Can you mention? One of you mentioned something about herbals. I cannot read that. Yes. This is the one. Let me just see this point. And I don't want to leave it, bypass it. Just now, one of you mentioned, can you speak up?
Yes, sir, Manisha this side.
Yeah, please.
Sir, actually, I just wanted to know that if I get a herbal plant from one of my friend who is my senior, so can I get that plant, and after extraction, chemical extraction, he will help me in the extraction and examine it for its activity, like it may be either anti-cancer or antiviral or something like that.
Sure.
And
if you do that, and if you are willing to take some more plants of Himalayan region,
yes,
we can also send you some plants in addition to that, because the same protocol can be used for more than one extract.
Yes,
so
yes.
your work will become more efficient. So any one of you wants to work on biodiversity, write to me or write to both of us, Anamika and me, send a mail, and we'll be very happy to send you materials to your lab, dried materials or green materials as the case as you prefer, We'll send you some prior art search literature. Please, whenever you do any research, as you know, we do prior art search, and we'll discuss later how prior art search has to be done. Not just literature review, but also patent review.
Okay.
Not just patent review, but also expired patent review, abundant patent review, and also review in the marketplace on Alibaba.com or IndiaMart. So all the 4 kinds of search should be done whenever you do any research, so that your research effort does not become redundant. Sometimes there is no paper on that subject, but somebody has already developed a product and selling in the market, some small entrepreneur. That is also prior art for you. Please understand that. Just published literature is not the only prior art. Any work done before, in practice, in market, is also prior art or relevant literature. So I would suggest that whosoever works on these problems, we'll discuss separately how to do the prior art search properly, so that your effort becomes truly remarkable. But sometimes you may work on something which is well known, but whose science is not known as yet. That also will be welcome. All right.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
Good luck. All the best. And remember that the People Festival of Innovation, 28th November to 2nd December, all of you who are near Delhi or Chandigarh or Gurgaon or wherever nearby Haryana or Pilani, you're all welcome to visit. There is a link of delegation, pfi2023.in. You can find a link of delegate, you can fill it. But even if you don't submit the delegation link, you are still welcome to come unannounced. I'll be there all the 5 days. We'll be very happy to meet you and talk to you. Thank you. Good luck. God bless you.
Thank you, sir.
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 Thank you,
Thank you,
sir.
sir.
Don't worry about the attendance
Thank you, sir.
poll. It doesn't matter.
Thank you, sir.
Bye.